Three, two, one.
Welcome to the Spurs News Podcast, your home for all things Tottenham Hotspur. Now, here are your hosts.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of the Spurs News Podcast. I am Sam, returning once again, but joining me today, it's my partner in crime from a different podcast, but joining me here on Spurs News, it's Stefan.
Another day, another podcast, my friend. How are you doing?
It is for us, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing like one a day at the moment.
It is, but it's a very different audience here. For those who don't know, me and Stefan do a entertainment podcast together where we talk about Marvel, Star Wars, basically lots of nerdy stuff. The Witcher, Lord of the Rings, you name it. You can find a website, www.stuffandthangspodcast.com. Check it out if you're interested. You might find us there and find it amusing, enjoy it. We know a few people have crossed over, but that advert for my side hustle aside, this is the Tottenham podcast. This is Spurs News. Matt, unfortunately, is still unwell, so sending in my best wishes. I'll get well soon, Matt. I know you're listening. But yeah, you're here with me, buddy, and we're talking about Tottenham.
We are.
Our other love.
Yes. You say love. It's one of those ones where, do we love it or do we put up with it at this point?
It's an abusive relationship, I feel. Yeah. It's definitely one that's gone toxic over the years on numerous occasions, and I keep taking her back.
Yeah, I feel that.
But I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I feel right now. But
about
one of the things
out of every 90 minutes, I dislike it. Yeah.
Now that's an interesting conversation. We'll come on to that. One of the things I've promised listeners of this podcast I'm going to do, and I'm going to try and stick to it as best as my memory will hold, is we're going to open the show with fan comments and questions, because otherwise I get to them at the end and I'm like, I've already talked about this, and then I feel bad. So here we go. It is time to head across to our social media.
Now it's time for your comments from our social media.
Now, I normally ask Matt this, so I'll ask you, Facebook or Instagram?
Lovely Laura. Let's go Instagram.
Okay, we open up with Instagram, and we have a comment from Jake Bennett17. Jake says, "Hello all." Good start, Jake. Strong start.
Nice.
Hope you're all well. Yes.
He's polite. I like this guy.
Yeah, very nice. Good to see us come back from a couple of sticky situations, coming back to beat Bournemouth and then Marseille. One thing that had been bothering me was our lack of adaptability in terms of our approach play style on the counter in brackets, which, by the way, I think we're brilliant at when it works, but sometimes it doesn't work, which is fine, but we haven't changed until recently, making changes at halftime, which is great. Basically, I feel like we can be too predictable, and if we don't score first, we have struggled. Would you guys like to see us set up differently and be perhaps a little bit more aggressive and more on the front foot instead of trying to play on the counter? As always, great work on the podcast, and come on you Spurs. Okay, mate. Well, you've heard that question.
Yep.
It's an interesting one. What are your thoughts initially?
The predictability thing is one of those questions where, if you remember under Pochettino, everyone used to be able to guess our starting 11, guess the exact way we were able to play, and we played with the attitude of, we know how good we are, you change to deal with us.
Yeah, which is a big club mentality. Yeah. Basically.
So in terms of, are we too predictable, I don't think that in itself is an issue.
No.
It's like, you look at teams like a Barcelona in their heyday. You knew you were going to get tiki-taka football, and they were going to literally pass and walk the ball from their penalty box to yours, and Messi was going to score.
Yeah, well, the example now, of course, in the Premier League, you know how Man City are going to play every game. You know how Liverpool are going to play. So, it is... Don't say that. Not now.
No. Take that out.
Not right now.
Take that out.
Take that back fast. I think your point's valid, and I think it is something that a lot of people perhaps overthink and overanalyze. With Pochettino, it was there's no plan B. And my argument was always be, if your plan A is that good, then you don't need a plan B.
Yeah.
You know, if you go out and the vast majority of games you win, then you're doing the right thing. You know, and every now and again, football's mental. You only got to look at the FA Cup every season where a phenomenal football team will go and play against a group of clogging idiots who work part-time at Safeway and lose.
Yep. Yeah.
And you're like, how? How did that possibly happen? It's because football at the end of the day is 11v11, and if one team are so amped up and ready to play, and the other team have just dropped their level, a team can beat another one. You know, the Premier League does it week in, week out. You look at it and you go, right, I'm going to predict all the scores. Nope. You're not going to get...
Okay,
yeah, all right, then fair enough. I've just, just think about last weekend, Brighton versus Chelsea.
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Could you have predicted 4-1 Brighton in that game?
4-1 maybe. That way, no.
No, exactly. But then you got the X factor. There's a lot of players there at Brighton who had a bit of a point to prove, perhaps, to their old boss.
Yep.
Chelsea players had played in midweek and had showed up probably thinking they were going to win. We just got to show up.
Yeah.
But going to Brighton and winning isn't for every team. Just saying. No. But I genuinely, the point going back to this is, are we tactically inflexible? Me and you've debated this a lot, so this is kind of fun to bring this to the podcast.
Yeah.
Because
this is like our WhatsApp conversation every time Spurs play.
Yeah, basically, because I look at us and I think to myself, I look at the way we're set up, I look at the way Conte wants us to play, and I'm like, if your wing backs play to a level, you got them playing to a certain level, in this system, we look good. We look very, very good.
Yeah.
The issue comes when teams have been able to either nullify the wing backs or the wing backs just haven't been that good. And I don't want to just single out players and just attack players, because people often jump on that like, oh, there's a hate campaign. But I just want to say, at the moment, for example, Emerson Royale, for me, still is not a wing back. His attacking ability, defensively, I think he's probably the best right-sided player we've got. But offensively, the guy can't cross. If you compare him to Perisic, delivery, it is apples and oranges, isn't it? It is night and day. And you need that. You have to have that ability, because if you are relying on your wing-backs to be your creativity, you have to have them create. And Emerson Royale's got a phenomenal engine. That guy can get up and down that flank all day long, but if he can't actually deliver anything, for example, if you're a defender, he's right-footed, you think to yourself, right, show him on the inside, show him onto his left, and I've nullified him. With Emerson Royale right now, you're probably just thinking,
just show him the final third.
Yeah,
show him the final third.
Just show him, because he can't cross.
I think we've joked before, haven't we? Emerson Royale is where attacks go to fizzle out. Yeah.
Well, it is, and again, I know it sounds like I'm being attacking him, because other players like Matt Doherty is a good offensive wing back, but he is a good offensive wing back for getting in the box. So Matt Doherty delivery is really poor. However, he can arrive at the back post. He's got a real aerial presence.
He's great.
He can get goals that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got it. Yeah. So in theory, Perisic whipping the ball in and Doherty arriving should work really well. But you need that threat from both sides, because otherwise teams can set up and go, right, Perisic is the threat, mark him out the game. Emerson Royale can't cross, just let the guy, if he wants to run up and down all day, let him. And that's kind of where the issue is, because if you nullify Tottenham's wing-backs at the moment, or they're just not able to do what we need them to do, then we don't have that creative spark in the middle. Højbjerg and Bentancur are not players like Eriksen who are going to unlock a defence. They've both got the ability...
Bentancur is doing more of that kind of job and the breaking forward at the moment, but it's out of necessity more than ability, I think.
I think Højbjerg and Bentancur both have the ability to come forward and be better pressing higher up. But that in itself is a slight system change, because I think they're only comfortable doing that when you add a Basuma, when you make it a 3 in the middle.
See, for me, I would love, saying about the question asked about like formations and stuff, I would love to see us play a 5-2-1-2. So at the moment, we're kind of playing a 5-3-2 or the 5-2-3.
Yeah.
I would love to see us play a Basuma or Skip and a Højbjerg or something, or a Bentancur as the 2, and then allowing one of the other ones to sit behind a strike partnership.
Yeah.
And kind of, or even if Son, Richarlison, all that are all fit, dropping Kane into that position.
Well,
dropping Kane back and letting Richarlison and Son go. You know?
That for
and
me...
playing that sort of formation. Or in January, we cross everything.
Yeah.
And we get a centre attacking midfielder sort of player coming, a creative player that can play that role. That just links it all.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, that's kind of where we're at, and I think that is where there's an element of frustration when we're watching us at the moment, which is you and I, just before we started recording, we're talking a little bit about stats and stuff from the Bournemouth game, which shocked us. Just to recap that, mate, if you've still got it in front of you, the Bournemouth game, right? Now, everybody listening, right, before you say this, just everybody listening, what do you think our percentage of possession was in that game? You know, we were 2-0 down, we battled back to win 3-2 in the second half, but the whole game, and I would predict most people will be thinking 50, possibly a little bit less. What was our possession stat in the game?
70.
Yeah.
We absolutely, I mean, if you look at, so all the stats here, I've got like shots on target, amount of passes, passing accuracy, corners, all of those stats. Yeah. And if you look at that, we had 23 shots.
Yeah.
70% possession.
Yep.
We made 631 passes at 89% accuracy.
Yeah.
And we had 19 corners.
Yeah.
We absolutely dominated. And then if you look at the scoreline, it's 3-2. We dominated that, and they scored a couple of lucky goals.
We did. I mean, it's kind of a crazy thing, because, again, anyone who watched that game would class that as a game of two halves, and yet it was 1-0 at half-time. They scored straight away in the second half. Everyone's like, oh, Tottenham are so much better in the second half. And it's like, well, they
scored in the 49th minute.
Yeah, we didn't start the second half that well. You know, they got a goal again. So it's kind of a strange thing at the moment where, you know, if you're watching it, you know, the Marseille game, for example, and we're going to go on to these games in a little bit more detail in a minute, but the Marseille game, that first half was just so bad to watch. Like, we couldn't string two passes together. It was so frustrating.
Me and you joked about the Marseille game that if we didn't make a change at half-time, I was turning it off.
Yeah.
And then he brought on Emerson Royale, and I had to stop myself from turning it off anyway.
It was the deal. You made the deal with God, and Emerson Royale emerged and turned the whole game around. Yeah. But it just kind of like, the frustration, I think, is we watch Tottenham play at the moment, and every now and again it clicks and it looks good. Like, you see one-touch passing football, like, ripping through a team, and you're like, wow. The playing it out from the back, even, which I've always had this kind of near heart attack all the time. All of it, like, in a few games recently, I've been like, wow, these teams are pressing us high, and we've just ripped through them. One touch passing, look round the corner, and I'm like, that.
Against Marseille, I had a few heart in mouth moments.
Oh, massively, massively.
But we didn't lose the ball. Like, I'm panicking, but we didn't lose the ball from doing it.
No, and it's this kind of weird thing where it's like, I think we've had so much time just watching us and being terrified of us playing that way, that now we're actually doing it to a fairly decent level, we're still terrified.
It's like, will you stop doing that? That was a really, really nice pass.
But don't do it again, please, because I don't think my heart can take it. Yeah. But what is interesting is, like, I think that's where the frustration is, because we are seeing that in bits and not 90 minutes. Like, if we were to put together a complete 90-minute performance playing as well as we have done in these little passages,
we could beat anyone.
Really could, yeah. And I think that's the thing we're all looking at going, why can't that happen? Like, what is going on? And I had this, like, crazy theory, and I shared it on the podcast a few weeks ago, which is, it's like we've looked at this season and gone, okay, the World Cup, it's basically 2 seasons in one. Like, because we're gonna have this break, and then everyone's gonna have to start again. Everyone's gonna have injuries. Everyone's gonna have fatigue issues. Like their top players who've gone to the World Cup. Load of players are going to stay behind, and they're going to have like basically another mini preseason. You know, it's going to be a weird year.
Loads of teams are talking about doing the warm weather training camps and stuff.
And I kind of look at it and I think to myself, well, I wonder if you've kind of, you've mapped out a plan, because we went hard on fitness, like going into this, and we've recovered now the most points of any team in the Premier League coming back into games.
Which is fantastic and frustrating.
Both, yeah, exactly.
It's equal.
But it's like there's no team fitter than us right now. And I think that shows. Like really 90, 95th minute of games, and our players are running still like it's the first minute. Which I think is a burning indictment on how slow they are in the first minute. But
well, yeah. Well, I mean, you think the last 2 games alone, we've had a 92nd minute winner and a 95th minute winner.
Yeah,
and both of them have been a counter-attacking kind of break of play that has then led to that goal being scored.
A team and players really, but like Højbjerg pushing himself to get into that position to score that winner was next level.
And the Bentancur goal against Bournemouth came from a corner, but only because
his calmness,
we counter-pressed so quickly.
Yeah, his calmness.
Oh man, the calmness to score that in the 92nd minute. He didn't power blast it like we saw. Højbjerg against Marseille. Great opportunity, just hit it as hard as he could, cannoned off the crossbar. I called him many words I apologise for.
Yes, which later I had to retract.
Apologies for that one. But then you saw the Bentancur one, like the calmness, just almost like just lofted it into the top of the net. Like,
that is a sign of fitness as well, because when you're blowing out your ass, you can't think that clearly. So,
trust me, I play football every weekend. As of minute 7.
Yeah, exactly. And so, I think we've answered that. I think we've answered that and gone well above and beyond. So, thank you very much for the question. I hope you've enjoyed the response. We have another one from Instagram, and this gentleman has his own theme song.
Now it's time for a comment from Island Brother.
Tell you what, it's really cold at the moment. Listening to this makes me want to be on a beach somewhere.
Has anyone contacted you yet?
No. I'm still getting away with it every time.
months I've known what that is.
Yeah,
and you said on the podcast the other week, no one's got it, and I'm like, I know it. No, shush. Because then the copyright people will arrive. I couldn't work out why for weeks I was humming the same song in my head. For weeks. Yeah. Couldn't work out why, and then one day just suddenly went,
oh, I know what that is. Yeah. But yeah, this is a message from Ireland Brother. Hello, my friend. He says, hi guys, I get it now. Just focus on the second half. That's the ticket. The first half doesn't exist. We are a bloody good team, aren't we? Question, will you guys be boycotting the World Cup? I support England, but won't be watching due to the human rights violations. I hope you're well, and come on you Spurs. Wow, Island Brother, don't mess about with your question, my friend. Go 2-footed. Wow.
Damn.
What do I say to that? If I say I'm watching it now, I'm like pro-human right violations? I don't know.
So, yeah, like, I have that problem of...
I feel bad now.
So, yeah, like, wow. Like, I am one of these people that is just football mad.
Yeah.
And the wife hates it, because she'll walk in the room and be like, oh, footballers on. Who are Tottenham playing today? And I'm like, no. It's Blackpool versus Luton. Yeah. What are you watching that for then?
Because it's
football.
on.
It's on the telly.
Yeah.
Why do you think? Yeah. I've got a baby due during the World Cup, and I've already said if the baby comes early or delayed, like it is due bang in between the semi-final and the final. Yeah. So a couple of days either way, we're having a home birth. That TV is going to have football on it.
Oh wow.
I watch football. I just love football. So, but now he's asked a question like that, I feel like I can't watch the World Cup now. So,
Island Brother, you've guilted us into not watching it. Truthfully now, yes, I will be watching it. I'll be watching it because it's one of those things like the Olympics, the World Cup, stuff like that. I watch. I don't know anything about Winter Olympic sport, but when that's on every 4 years, I become a damn curling expert.
Mate, the curling, yes.
Throwing rocks down ice, it is a sweeping like a... Oh, I'm there. So
what I love is that every British person, that is the go-to sport for Winter Olympics.
Because
everyone, curling!
Yeah, well, it's a bloody good laugh, isn't it? I mean, it looks fun.
Faster!
Yeah.
Oh,
bugger it. Yeah. I'm going to be watching it. I do completely understand anyone who's making a boycott, and I got to be honest with you, I get it. I would not... there's certain things I'd love to go and do. I'd love to go on a British-Irish Lions rugby tour. I'd love to go and watch England play in a World Cup football. This is one I would never attend. Like, this tournament I do not agree with. It should never have been awarded to them. It was totally corrupt. We all know that.
Oh, completely, yeah.
But people have literally died building these stadiums. People have literally suffered. It is disgusting what has happened. And now to see, fans who, gay football fans and people like that are basically now being told, look, if you travel, please don't be yourself in public. It's an incredibly difficult thing when you think about the message of football is supposed to be inclusivity. It doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter your ethnicity, doesn't matter anything like this. You're all part of a football family. And how they can try and portray that message coming from a country with, like you say, the human rights records, with their views on LGBTQ plus people and everything like that, it's kind of like, it's impossible to have that. Now, that being said,
it's difficult. Go on, you finish first.
Well, no, I was just going to say, now that being said, I will caveat that, and I will say this, that when you travel to anywhere in the world, you have to respect their laws. Okay, now whether you agree with them or not is a separate issue for me. Like, so for example, if anyone comes to the UK, they have to obey our laws. And everyone here, you think about people like, bloody foreigners coming over here. You've got to obey the UK laws, the laws of the land. And like I said, do I agree with them? No. Are they the laws there? Yes. So if I was traveling there, I would have to obey their laws, like drinking in public. There are so many things that are just so different and alien to our culture here. But it is there. Now, should they have ever had the World Cup? Absolutely not, in my opinion. Can FIFA continue this? Oh, football's a game for everyone. Right now, I think it's hypocritical beyond belief. And to be quite honest, actually to the point it's almost disgusting that they're doing that. The fact that Harry Kane has said he's going to wear a rainbow armband and is being told that for every game he wears it, he's going to get a massive fine from FIFA.
Yeah.
It's not good. It's like none of it's good. The whole situation's terrible. But like I said, I will be watching it. I will be watching England up until we get knocked out. So probably just a couple of weeks, probably about
just
3 games.
Yeah.
Sorry, mate, I interrupted you.
No, I was actually going to say pretty much exactly the same as what you did.
Oh, okay.
I'm lucky. I've been on quite a few holidays abroad. Yeah. I've been to countries as far out as Ghana, Jamaica, America, those sort of places. And each time you travel somewhere, you obey. You have to obey what their country is. You have to respect and obey the culture of the country. Yep. Now, to that extent, I understand what they're saying with the LGBT.
Yep. The alphabet mafia. Go with that. The
alphabet mafia. Yeah, I understand what they're saying with that. Don't go out in public and openly. Yeah. I understand that. Is it correct? No, you should be able to be yourself freely wherever you are. Yeah. However, if that is the country's culture and beliefs and stuff, you kind of have to accept that if you're planning to go there. The human rights issues and the stuff that's happened around the stadiums, I think, is a completely different matter. Yep. And it's awful. If the things that are being reported are the truth and everything else, then it is awful. Absolutely awful.
I agree.
But like yourself, it's the World Cup and I'm a football fan. So I will be watching the football and I'll be watching the football hoping that the players use the stage they have
Yeah.
to put messages across. You know, Harry Kane and the armband, that sort of thing.
I think they will. I'm just
I want it done in the correct way, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Okay, so hopefully we've answered that, and hopefully I've not offended anyone, because I normally do.
I try not to. I do try not to.
I have an amazing ability to do it, even when I don't mean to. Heading over to Facebook, we have Tom Perks. Tom says, with Pierre-Emile Højbjerg seemingly talking to the press on an awful lot at the moment, do you guys think that he will be Hugo's successor as club captain? P.S. How good was that goal? Come on, you Spurs. Firstly, that goal was great. Love that goal.
Yeah.
Secondly, as captain, I don't know. Him doing press duties is nothing new. Possibly you're just noticing it more, but you have quite literally at the end of every game a kind of scrum where players walk through and they can choose to stop and speak to journalists or not, or they can keep going. Højbjerg is someone who on a regular basis will talk to journalists. Harry Kane rarely does it, but when he does, you'll see it everywhere because he rarely does it. Eric Dyer talks to the journalists a lot. So, you do have certain players who are more comfortable doing that. Hugo doesn't, which is kind of funny. But he leads by example. And when he's called upon for press duty, he steps up. He doesn't shy away from it. But at the same time, he's not going to go looking for journalists. He's kind of like, I just want to get home to the kids. And if you've seen his wife, you'll understand why he wants to go home. She's beautiful. But
he just let someone else drive him.
Yeah, please let someone else drive him. Yeah, let's not celebrate too much. Hey boss. But he, I don't know. I don't know on that. It's such a interesting question because Lloris has been our captain for such a long time now and served us so immaculately. I don't like thinking of him gone. I know we have to. I know we all have to think about it, but it's just kind of like, nope, he's going to live forever and he's going to be our keeper. I was a bit like this,
Realistically, I think we've probably only got another 1 or 2 seasons past this one.
I think one.
And then he goes back to France.
Personally, mate, I think after this World Cup, I think we're gonna. I think next season. I think next summer we're going to be trying to sign a replacement. And I know who we want, by the way, and I just cannot see it happening in a million years. And that's Oblak from Atletico Madrid.
Do you know what? I didn't realise he was only like 23, 24 years old. No. He's been around forever.
He's older than that, isn't he?
No, Oblak, I'm sure it's Oblak's only he's only in his like early 20s, but he's been around forever.
No, that can't be true.
I'm Googling it, 1 second.
He's 29.
Is he?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
God, you had me thinking, well, we definitely ain't getting him now, but 29 for a keeper, by the way, you're at your peak. 29 going up to like 34, 35 is kind of like goalkeepers. Yep, still very good. But yeah, that's who the club like. Atletico Madrid letting him go, I just don't see it personally. Unless he himself wants to play in England.
So I just realised I was thinking of the Spanish keeper.
Okay.
Simon.
Okay.
Unai Simon. He's only 25. That's who I was thinking of.
Okay.
Don't worry.
All right, moving on.
Wrong keeper.
But yeah, so captaincy, I don't know. I mean, to me, if he signs a new contract and if he's happy at the club, then I think Harry Kane takes the captaincy.
That's the obvious answer, isn't it? But I don't see who other than him would. Eric Dyer,
possibly for me. I don't know. I'm kind of.
It's really a bad shout.
I mean, Gary Mabbutt's still captain to me, so I don't know. It's an interesting one. It's one of those things where I think a lot of it comes down to the manager. So, the manager, I remember Alex Ferguson talking about Roy Keane as basically being an extension of him on the pitch. So he made him captain because his viewpoint was exactly the same, and whereas Ferguson could only get him in at half-time and shake him by the throat, Keane could do it on the pitch. And he would. And so it was a natural kind of an extension of myself. Now, we've seen successive managers in Mourinho and Conte. Basically, Højbjerg's the first name on the team sheet. Probably because of his work rate and his mentality, definitely. There are games where I question his ability to track runners, but at the same time, I think that the positives for him outweigh the negatives. I think we're seeing that more and more as he's able to go forward more. I really don't see him as a sitting defensive midfielder. I see him
when we signed him, that's what I thought. When we signed him, I thought that's a ball-winning midfielder. He's going to sit back, defend, almost take on. Remember, like the Wanyama and Dembele kind of sitting back, defending, helping the defence.
Yeah.
The more this season's gone on in particular, the more I'm seeing him making these run forwards and appearing at the edge of the box, and I'm like, I've got this guy completely wrong.
Yeah.
He's a box-to-box midfielder, not a holding midfielder at all.
Yeah.
All these times I've sold him on Football Manager for not being a good enough ball winner. Turns out I was wrong. I was playing him in the wrong formation.
Well, and I mean that's half the battle always. I don't know. I mean, for you, so if like today, say Hugo Lloris went, I'm retiring, I'm done. I'd give the captaincy to Harry Kane today. Yourself, who would you, if it was today, who would you pick?
Kane is the obvious one. He's England captain. Yeah. He's a leader of the team. He is the obvious one.
He's Mr. Tottenham, yeah.
As long as he signs that new contract, then yes.
Yeah.
If he doesn't, then it's probably Dyer for me.
Yeah, Mr. Dyer. Eric Dyer, Pierre-Emile Højbjerg and Harry Kane are all in contract talks, by the way.
Yes.
Just putting out there. I think it's in the press, but...
Real Madrid have lined themselves up for Højbjerg, and all of a sudden we're in talks for contract renewal.
That's fine.
Makes sense.
That's a clever agent, isn't it?
Isn't it just?
Okay, so our final question on Facebook comes from someone else who has their own theme.
Here is a question from Ryan Miller. You all know what time it is.
It's Miller time.
Ryan Miller says, what's your view on why we play so differently in the second half to the first? It's like watching a completely different team. Stefan, why do you think that is?
My first view is the guy that done the voiceover for that one. What a star.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so frustrating. Like this whole first 45 minutes to the second 45 minutes, it's such a frustration. It's like, it's almost like we're sitting back for the first, so I have a theory, okay? Let's
bring it on.
My theory is we know how good our fitness is.
Yeah.
So it's almost like we are setting up the first half as if to say, let them in. Let them run themselves ragged.
Yeah.
We will just defend where we need to. Keep giving them the ball. Let them run around and pass the ball around and let them use their legs.
Yeah.
And then in the second half, when our fitness kicks in, we know that we've got those last 20, 25 minutes where we're going to be sprinting and they're going to be struggling to jog.
I mean...
That's where we'll do the damage.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I love this theory. I love the idea of an instruction being, just keep giving them the ball back. It's fine.
Just let them have it outside their box and let them run around with it, sort of thing. Because if you watch us play, how often are we giving the ball away in the final third?
Oh, don't. It kills me. Yeah,
and it's like,
kills me.
It does. It's a genuine theory now. I watch us give the ball away in the final third so often.
Yeah.
And then they counter-attack at absolute full pace.
Yeah.
But we've got three defenders sat there, which are most of the time just mopping it up.
Yeah.
Giving the ball back to the forwards, who lose the ball. And they counter-attack at speed again. And then we're looking at the goals we scored. So against Bournemouth, 57, 73, 92. It's almost like we're getting to around the 60th minute of the match. And our fitness is really kicking in. Theirs is going, oh crap, we've been running for the last hour.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like that as well. Again, against Marseille, the goals, 54 minutes, 95 minutes.
Yeah.
And I really hope that's not actually our tactic of and then hit them
it's a fun... literally rope-a-dope. I mean, it is a fun theory. If we're going to go crazy theories, it's... I don't know. My actual genuine thought process is I think we're overtraining ahead of the games. I think I had this thing, and this is so, don't get me wrong, this is so far removed from professional athletes, of course. But when I was playing rugby and I was younger, I was signed, and when I got signed to this club, I went from doing training 3 nights a week to daily. And on the actual game days, I used to, show up, do a warm-up, play the game. And we had this coach come in who basically was like, no, you come in the morning, we do a training session, and then you then travel, you do your warm-up, and then you play. And so I do like an hour to 2 hours in this morning session and then go play a game later in the day. And the whole idea of this was this kind of getting you up, your metabolism, getting yourself ready and in this kind of zone. But I would struggle at the start of every single game where my legs felt like lead. But I would get stronger as the game went, because I was like, I don't know, it was like the fitness levels kicked in, but I was basically being overtrained. And when that changed, I never had that issue. And I do wonder, because there is such an emphasis from Conte on fitness and fitness and fitness. I mean, I've got no idea what the pre-match routine is, but it just kind of feels like perhaps they're doing something. Hell,
if you can go do a half marathon, before 12,
perhaps their breakfast is too heavy. It just, there is something that is clearly an issue.
There's too many Weetabix. Yeah.
But just you watch us, and it is. Ryan just said sometimes it's like watching two completely different teams, and it is. And it's 90% of the time it is the same players. Half time you'll send out the same 11, and you're like, where was this urgency? Where was this fight and desire? Do they need to have a rocket rammed up? Does it take 45 minutes to warm up? So there is something in the routine somewhere which is failing. And I think a good coach and I think a good setup needs to identify what that is. Or it's your idea, which is, the more I think about it, the more fun it is, really.
Yeah, you guys Conte at the beginning of the match. Now remember, guys, edge of their box, give it away, let them counter. Remember, edge of the box, give it away, let them counter.
Let them run.
And when it gets to an hour, stop giving them the ball and punish them.
Yeah, the idea of that would just be hilarious, like a behind the scenes thing at the end of the season, and we were like, I knew it. So
Harry Kane and Son are like, but I could have scored more goals this season, but the gaffer said don't score before the 55th minute.
Yeah.
So
I'm not allowed. Yeah, any shots
I got fined last week. Yeah.
So we have had a couple of games, and we've talked about them a lot already, but both games have been comeback victories. Bournemouth, we went 2-0 down, coming back to win 3-2. And then in the Champions League, we went 1-0 down in a ridiculously hostile atmosphere, by the way.
Wasn't it just it's becoming more of a thing now as well in European fixtures. But I see the thing is, like, people say it's become more of a thing now. I don't see it in England. Like, I don't know if it's because it's just not reported as much.
Liverpool.
But in England,
yeah, you see it.
We don't really see it as much.
Yeah.
This whole, fireworks outside the hotel 2 times during the night to keep you disturbed, and fireworks. I remember listening to the commentators, and it was like, the fireworks at the start of the game was making him jump, and by the 30th minute, it was like, oh, another fireworks just gone off.
Well, it was so loud, it was like bombs going off because they're echoing, and I'm like, Jesus Christ, I can't take a bottle of water into a stadium here. How in the fucking hell are people getting flares and fireworks in the stadiums? Yeah. And maybe it's a question I don't want to ask.
Even if they're setting them off even if they're setting them off just outside and aiming it over the stadium, it's still a case of surely there's a safety protocol somewhere.
Surely that shouldn't be happening, but regardless of, the atmosphere was insane. It was so hostile, The Marseille fans came and really were the 12th man, really made an impact. I felt that we gifted them their goal through errors, compounded by Ryan Sessegnon seeing the ball out even though it was a corner.
Coming off Bissouma's foot,
They then take it quickly, boom, and score, which, we just weren't set. No one was marking that guy. And so I kind of looked at that and I was like, this is literally the definition of my frustration with Tottenham this season, which is we've looked apathetic, lethargic. We've looked like we're not really in the game. And we've conceded a goal through our errors. yeah, they were creating chances, but Hugo had dealt with it, which is what he's there to do, and we limited them really to kind of like
He made
efforts
some
from
great
range.
saves, to be fair to him.
He did, yeah. He's still a phenomenal keeper, and I like I said, I'm kind of watching it, and it's half time, and we're talking, and we're just like, I'm not sure I even want to watch the second half. It's like, why do this to myself? We're going out of the Champions League.
We joked before the match. We joked him about how Hugo had come out and said, this is our Champions League final. We have to win this, or we're out.
Final. Yeah.
And we watched the first half. The goal goes in from us not marking at a corner, and it's like, we're playing like a final.
Yeah, that's Tottenham in a final, definitely. So, the thing that kind of, I guess, changed really is the players came out, and although not initially they kind of came out, felt themselves into the game a little bit, but there was a definite difference in the press and the desire and the aggression. Post-match, we've learned, like Harry Kane said, that Hugo had a lot to say, about how the team needed to be more aggressive. And also the message was like, we fought hard to get into the Champions League. Is this how you want it to end? Go out basically with a whimper, or are we going to go out with a fight here? And they did. And as soon as they did that, the game changed. Like Marseille, yes, they still did create a few chances in that second half, but we really dominated. Like, we really got into them, and we looked like at one point we could have easily won that game 2 to 3 times. And it had got to that point where I was dreading it, because I was thinking they're going to score in like the 90th minute. Because I've seen this script before. We've created all these chances, for Kane, for Højbjerg at the bar. We've created these chances left and right. Damn it, we've had our chance. We're gonna lose this. But no, Højbjerg goes through. And by the way, what a finish that was.
That was a really good finish. I didn't expect that finish at all.
No, not at all. And so, I mean, absolutely over the moon. Absolutely over the moon with that. Frustration that we're still not able to put a performance together for 90 minutes.
Yeah, but, I mean, I'll do Matt proud by bringing you a couple more stats from the game.
Well, let me just finish what I was going to say, and then definitely. Yeah. But what I was going to say is, it's one of those things where this is an away game in the Champions League. There are no easy fixtures in the Champions League. We talk about it in the Premier League, but like in Europe especially, the Champions League, there's no easy game. Everybody is playing. Everyone is amongst the best in their country, and they're representing their country. And when you're away in the Champions League, in that kind of atmosphere, to go a goal down and to come back the way we did, I know you're about to go through the stats, which are going to be like reading hell, I imagine, but I'm kind of delighted. I kind of look at that as the result and just think that's what a perfect European away performance. You go away and you just get a result, and that's. I mean, yeah,
we've had 2 games. Both games we've come from behind to win and collect 3 points in both games.
Yeah.
Really, what more can you ask for?
Yeah.
Bournemouth is not an easy place to go because it's such a small ground. It's such an enclosed ground.
Yep.
And they're not playing bad football at the moment, really.
No, not at all. No, not at all. We saw that in the game.
And Marseille, like, that was hostile in Marseille, wasn't it? So, it's...
Yeah. Yeah.
So, in that sense,
you have some stats from Marseille game.
So, the Marseille game. So, shots, we only had 7 shots to their 16.
Yep.
Of which 3 were on target. We scored 2.
Yep.
Marseille had 4 on target, scored 1.
Yep.
Possession, we only had 36%.
Yeah.
Now, I understand, again, like you say, an away game in the Champions League, there is no easy away games. No. You think, Real Madrid won it last year and they lost away to Sheriff Maccabi in the group stage. No, there is no easy games.
Nope.
But 36% possession, that's low, even for Spurs.
It's low, but at the same time, you look at that, they had all that possession and they created 4 shots on target all night.
Yeah. So that tells us our defence did well.
Yeah.
Considering our defence was kind of missing the Romero and stuff.
Yep.
Langley, I think, actually had quite a good game.
I agree. And
take away him scoring the goal, even ignoring scoring the goal, defensively, I think he had quite a good game.
I agree.
Dyer playing out more on the right than his central normal position as well. I thought did well.
Agreed.
And Davis is Davis, and I love Davis. So
you know what you're going to get with him. He's going to give everything.
Yeah, completely. But yeah, looking more at the stats as well. Like we didn't have many corners on the game. We had 3 corners to their 9.
Yeah.
Passes, we made about half the amount of passes they did because obviously they had a lot more possession.
Yeah.
But we came away with a win, 3 points, and topped the group.
Yep.
What more can we ask for?
No, and that's the thing. You look at that group table and you look at it and you go, oh wow, Tottenham were the favourites to top the group, and they've done it. But I mean, it doesn't tell the story. I mean, Sporting Lisbon were excellent in every game I watched them play. Frankfurt were excellent, and Marseille were excellent. There was 4 good teams in that group. Yes, we were favourites, and yes, we finished top. So,
the fact that on the last day of the group, on Group Day 6, all 4 teams at one point were top of the group and going through.
Yeah, exactly.
During those 90 minutes, that was crazy. Like that's what you want from the Champions League. I mean,
that's how you want it to be. Yeah,
Game 4 as well.
Massively, yeah. I mean, I love it. The first 4 games won, and then the last 2 send out the youth.
Yeah.
But the major downside from the game, of course, was the injury to Sonny. Son Heung-min went for a challenge and caught a guy's shoulder and has fractured sort of around his eye socket and needs surgery. That surgery is happening in the next few days, and keeping everything crossed for him that the surgery goes well and therefore he'll be able to make the World Cup for his country, because it means the world to him. He's the captain of his national team going to a World Cup. I mean, he's
29 now as well, so he's kind of
it's probably his last, who knows, but probably his last one. Certainly probably the last one as captain. But he's a phenomenal player, such a lovely, nice guy as well. You just want him to be okay.
I'm hoping surgery and then a mask he'll be able to.
I hope so.
Play the World Cup.
Let's hope so. Now Bentancur grabbed his hamstring in the game as well, so Bentancur is being assessed. Sonny's getting the headlines, but Bentancur's been one of our best players this season for me.
I would say our best player. Our best player,
and is potentially going to be a massive, massive loss if he's ruled out. So he's being assessed at the moment. On the injury front, the news is out now that QT Romero won't play for us before the World Cup. He has a muscle strain.
Is that the don't want to miss the World Cup-itis?
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, Argentinian players would appear to have some sort of either massive fear factor or an unrequited love for their national team that when it gets close to major tournaments or anything like that, they all seem to do this. We've seen Lo Celso basically steal a living from us, go away on international duty and come back injured every single time. And you showed me yesterday, there's a list of something like 6 players, is it? The Argentinian players who are
possibly more than that, actually. Yeah,
who are currently injured but are all expected to be available for the first game of the World Cup.
Yeah, Di Maria, Ocampos, Paradas, Martinez, Romero, Foyth, De Paul, and Lo Celso.
Yeah, Lo Celso. So
Lo Celso's injured more times than not, anyway. So
so I'm kind of like looking at that, going, "Come on, really?" I've been
told Brazil has a very similar list.
Yeah. No, I know. But like you look at Ben Davies, Wales going to a World Cup. That's once in a lifetime. But he is running himself into the ground for Tottenham right now. Harry Kane is going to be captain in England at a World Cup, and he's running himself into the ground right now. Højbjerg for Denmark. So there's a mentality thing there, and I'm disappointed. QT Romero is a player I really like, and I'm kind of disappointed in this. Now, I'm sure he does, because physios would quickly go, "You're fine." So there is obviously a muscle strain there, but yeah, it's just a little bit disappointing for me that...
I think as well, when you look at the South American players, I think they actually enjoy playing for their country more than they do for their clubs. Yeah,
you're probably
right.
Whereas
England have always had the opposite problem.
Yeah.
And I think that as a mental side of it as well, I think with muscle injuries and things like that as well, I think there's a mental side. There is definitely. You run and you go, oh, I don't know if that feels right, or I don't know. And I think that's a lot of the problem as well.
You're probably spot on, mate. The next game is Liverpool, which is a fixture which has been a bit loathsome for the last few years. Liverpool are having a crazy up and down season where one game they look the world beating side we know, the next game they look utter shite.
Champions League, they've been great. Premier League, rubbish.
Now, we know, because we're Tottenham fans, which version we're going to get.
Yep.
There is not a doubt there is not a doubt in my mind that peak Barcelona in Liverpool shirts are going to show up. And that's just the way it goes. But our injury list is just looking at it, I'm like, damn. I mean,
we've got more players out injured than we've got fit, I think, at the moment.
Well, if we walk through the team, at the back, Romero's a big loss. He walks into any team in the league, and I stand by that. You walk in the midfield, and Bentancur is potentially out. He's a massive loss for us. And then you go into attack, and we're going to be missing Kulusevski, Son, and Richarlison. I mean, it's amazing to me that we went into the season with 4 front players that we all looked at and went, wow, for the first time, look at that. And 3 of them are injured.
And now we have Lucas, Gill, and Kane. That's it.
Yeah.
And it's like, wait a minute, what's happening?
It's going to be interesting to see how we line up. It's going to be interesting to see who plays. I think a lot of teams are going to be in a similar boat because players are kind of one eye on that World Cup, definitely. Kane said quite brilliantly in the interview, and he's right, he's like, you've got to be dedicated to every game, to every training session, because if you're not, that's when you get hurt. And his mentality is absolutely right. You know, something can happen out of nowhere. Sonny jumping for that ball 99% of the time is nothing, and he just runs off. You know, nothing happens. On that particular occasion, he caught a shoulder and he's hurt himself. It can happen. It's a contact sport. And I think if you go into games thinking, oh no, I can't do that because of this, that's when you're going to get munched. You know, it's
when
going
you
to go wrong.
start pulling out of tackles or 50% in tackles.
Yeah.
The things go wrong. I've learned that. Yeah,
massively. So that's it, man. That's me covered everything I wanted to cover. We have Liverpool, and then we have Nottingham Forest in the League Cup, and then we have Leeds United, and then the break for the World Cup. This week for me, these 3 games for me are kind of every game's a big game right now. When we're trying to compete for everything we're competing for, they're all big games, but if you can go into that World Cup with still in the League Cup, so if we can beat Nottingham Forest, and don't get me wrong, I think Conte's going to write it off, personally. I think he's going to field a youth team. Genuinely, I do.
Well, against Forest, probably.
I genuinely do. I think with the fixture pile-up, the fatigue in the first team, I genuinely think he's just going to write it off. But, that being said, if we could go through, then we go into that World Cup with a situation where we're still in the top 4 fight. We are still in the League Cup, still in the Champions League. It's literally all the box ticked, isn't it? You know, that is kind of exactly where we needed to be.
And all the fans are moaning that we're not playing well enough. So doesn't that tell you, if we can find that extra gear?
Yeah, and like I said, after this World Cup is new season. It's like it's a start again. And so we've got that opportunity to go, bang, clean slate, off we go again. And every club's going to be dealing with that kind of World Cup hangover. There might be some players who've gone and won the thing, and they'll be, well, hey, I've already done my job this year. What do you want me to play again for? Mentality-wise, it's going to be massive. It's going to be such a strange season, and I've said it so many times, but I stand by it. It's just going to be so odd.
My main thing is we've seen what we're like in second halves.
Yeah, exactly. So second half of the season, dominant Tottenham.
That's my plan.
But we're there. We are there, and we're fighting. And we got an opportunity to really progress. If we can beat Liverpool, beat Leeds, beat Nottingham Forest, then that's a phenomenal position to be in. I mean, let's go for it. And that's got to be the message. That's got to be the thing of, like, we get into this World Cup in the best position possible. And then we all, like, everyone who's off on their World Cup duties, off you go. Good luck, guys. Everyone else, we're going to have a break, and then we're going to get back together and we go again. but we go again from a position of strength. So there we go. That's it. That's our podcast. Massive thank you to you, my friend, for stepping in like you so often do. You're a hero.
No worries. Always good fun.
Big thank you to everybody for listening. Apologies, the show's been a bit hit and miss over the last few months. We are doing our absolute best, but we will be back again next week, or at least that is the plan as of today. You all take care, and as always, come on you Spurs.
Thank you for listening to the Spurs News Podcast. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Stay up to date with all things Tottenham. Follow us on social media. All links are in the podcast description.